Time for another board game review, and this time we have the game 3000 Scoundrels. This was sent to me by Unexpected Games, and is designed by Corey Konitschka. Assemble a posse to recover gadgets of mysterious origin. Use clear cards to create unique characters. 3000 possibilities. Let me show you how to play. So in 3000 Scoundrels, you are the leader of a faction seeking technology left behind by a mysterious visitor known as the Traveler. And whoever has the most tech at the end wins and determines the fate of the American frontier. Each of you have a poker deck. You draw 4 cards. Well, that's not 4 cards. This is 4 cards. You draw 4 cards to start for your hand. And on your turn, you may play a poker card face down on your sheet here. Now, the key is it can match the slot number, or it might not. So I could play a 4 here, and it could be legit. Or I could bluff and play, I don't know, like a 6 here. We'll get into what bluffing entails later. But regardless, after you play your card, you use abilities matching the slot number. In this case, it would be scout a safe at a site, then mark it. But you can also gain $3, gain $4, steal a safe. You can always look at the cards in your hand and any cards you have played, but you cannot look at cards in your deck or in an opponent's hand or in their face-down cards. Then the meat of the game are these Scoundrels, and these are clear cards that have little transparent backs, and you slide random cards in here. So this automaton is a generous automaton, or this burly doctor, or this wise prospector. And they're all different with different abilities and art. There are also these safes here, and these are safes that you're going to be scouting out and you're going to be stealing. They are worth 2 to 7, and they are face down on the board to start. So you play over 2 days, or you can do 3 days for a longer game. And at the start, each player takes a turn. On your turn, you plan, use abilities, and you can hire a scoundrel or use the sheriff's office. So to plan, like I mentioned before, you take a poker card and you place it on one of these spots. And it doesn't have to match the number, but if you don't match the number, then you are bluffing and there comes a risk with it. Now, the number 0 card does not match a slot, so you have to bluff when you use this card. There's also a 6 card that does not have a leader sheet ability, but these often appear on scoundrel cards, which I'll explain later. You also have henchman tokens. These are minions you can send to expose your opponent's lies if you think they're bluffing. So, if you think your opponent is bluffing on their turn, you can place one of your henchmen on their card if you think that they're lying. I mean, you wouldn't do it on your own like this, but let's pretend somebody else thought I was bluffing, then you can put a henchman on the card. You can place a henchman on a card only during the same turn it was played. So once it's played, that turn is when you do it. You can't do it later. At the end of the day, each card that has a henchman on it is revealed. And if you catch an opponent's bluff, then you gain a reward, and you get the henchman back. Each player can have a maximum of 1 henchman on each card. You cannot use henchmen that are in jail. Jail is up here. We'll explain that later. And you cannot place henchmen on your own cards. Then, after you've placed your planning card, then you can use abilities. I already mentioned the abilities here. There are also abilities on scoundrel cards. So, for example, the wise prospector here, on a 3 or a 6, you can gain $3. So if this was on your board, you could activate it when you place a 3 or a 6. Each ability can only be used once each turn. And since this one has 2 different poker cards on it, you can activate this when you play the 3 and when you play the 6. Then after you use all your abilities, you must either hire a scoundrel or use the sheriff's office. So, going up here, you can see, well, I gotta make another one. You look on the right, this tells you how many dollars this scoundrel costs. So this one says, start of your turn, if you have $0, gain $4 and draw a poker card. This would cost $3 if you wanted to recruit it. So if you paid the 3, then you can place it on your board. Each time you hire a scoundrel, you can reorganize the scoundrels on your board. This will matter when there are certain ones that can trigger other ones. If you have no open spaces, then you have to discard one. This is the only time you can voluntarily discard a scoundrel. When you hire a scoundrel, you slide these over and you refill with a new scoundrel. If you don't have enough money to buy a scoundrel, or if you don't want to buy one, then you must use the sheriff's office. There are a couple things you can do. You can just gain $2. You can spend $2 to free one of your henchmen from jail, or $4 to free two. On the final day only, spend $12 to steal one of these safes. But regardless of what you do, you always discard the rightmost scoundrel, even if you're just doing sheriff's office, so that there's constantly new scoundrels cycling into the saloon. Now, once each player has taken 4 turns, that's the end of the day, and that's when you reveal all the cards that have henchmen on them. So, let's say someone placed a henchman on my card here, and I reveal it. It was a correct card. That means this player's henchman goes to the jail. However, if he was right, let's say I had this on here and they called it, then he called my bluff. Then that player would gain 1 reputation, and reputation is tracked on this sort of meter down here. And if your bluff was caught, then your reputation goes down. So that is the risk of bluffing. Then you take all the poker cards you played, you shuffle them, place them on the bottom of your deck. You don't shuffle them into your deck, though. That's the crucial thing. You shuffle them and put them on the bottom so that the other 3 will be drawn. Then you draw up to 4, play a new day. Some key things to note: if any of your cards don't have henchmen on them, you don't reveal them. They remain secret. And also, even if multiple players put a henchman on your same card, you still only lose 1 reputation for being caught on the bluff. And then reputation, like I said, this will give you a certain number of technology points at the end, depending on how high or low. You could have -2, you could have 6. You know, there's a lot you can gain or lose that way. Now, in order to win the game, you're going to need to find these high value safes up here. So this little wheel here tells you what the possibilities are in each section. And to scout, one of your regular abilities is use the ace or 2 to scout a safe. And you can mark it. So what you do is you choose a safe and look at it secretly. Okay, so this one is 4 tech. Now, you have these mark numbers, and you can put a number on it that you can choose whatever you want. You could tell the truth and say, oh yeah, that's a 4. Or you could lie and pretend it's not that valuable. Well, 2 wouldn't be smart because 2 is not possible there, but like a 3. If you place a mark with a number that's matching the safe's value, it will be worth 1 extra tech point to anyone who steals it. You can look at these safes that you've marked at any time, but you cannot look at ones that you haven't marked. Now, when you use an ability to steal a safe, like the number 5 ability, you take the card and put it face down on the top of your board, like this. And you keep any tokens that were on it. You cannot have more safes than the current day. So if it's the second day, you can't have more than 2. If you ever have more than the limit, you choose which safe to put back. After 2 nights, or 3 nights if you're playing the long version, you reveal your safes, add up your tech points. Each mark on your safes that matches the value gives you an extra point. Look at your reputation, and sometimes these scoundrels will also have tech icons on them to give you points. Highest score is the winner. If there's a tie, most money is the tiebreaker. Now, let's see if I can find some examples of scoundrel abilities that can sort of trigger other ones. Now, here's something I had an issue with the iconography. Something I was not a huge fan of because it felt a little counterintuitive. Let me see if I can show you an example. This helpful blacksmith here has a card symbol on it with an arrow, and it says gain $3 if you have 2 or more reputation, gain an additional $2. Now, my thought would be that maybe I don't know. Regardless, what this means is that if a card is here, then this triggers when this triggers, which to me feels confusing because when I see this down arrow, it makes me automatically look at the space below it. But that's not what it means. It means when this card triggers, this card triggers. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't think that's really clear, but that is an example of this. So basically, you could get some more money, depending on your reputation, when this card triggers. There are also modifier icons, like this bold pickpocket here. This symbol means you get this bonus $1 before using the ability, which is gain 2, then steal 1 from an opponent. So there's that one. There's also a ×2 symbol, which means you can use this ability twice. The stunning tax collector Gain $2 and steal $1 from each opponent that has less reputation than you when you trigger your 6 card. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You use your Scoundrels by playing cards, potentially bluffing, getting abilities, and getting these safes and trying to get the valuable ones. I'll just show you a couple other random possibilities here. The lying printer. After you mark a safe with a value not possible at that site, gain $3. Brilliant photographer. On a 5 or 6, either gain $3 or discard this to gain 1 reputation. Cruel loan shark. Start of your turn to use, send one of your henchmen to jail and gain $1. If you have $4 or less, gain $4. And that's the game. So before I go into anything else, let me just say I love the art of this game. I think it's great. I love the theme, the sort of futuristic Western, treating like common modern items as artifacts. It's clever, it's unique. I think the sleeves for the clear cards are really nice too. It looks great both art-wise and presentation-wise, which is a shame because I just wasn't very into this one. There are a lot of ideas in this game where in theory I'm like, okay, I could have fun with that, but it feels very underwhelming. First off, the secret safes. It's a concept I've seen in other games. There's a game called Deadwood 1876 that I think does the concept really well. In this game, it's not very interesting. If you happen to find one of the really good safes in the first day, there's not a whole lot left to do for the rest of the game. Your opponents may not even have a real way to get that safe away from you. So it really feels set in stone. In Deadwood, there's a lot of switching stuff, which is fun. Like, oh, what's that safe? What's this safe? This is like, oh, I found the 7 safe. I guess I'm just gonna sit on that, and oh, I found another good safe. I won't search for the rest of the game. There needs to be way more chances built into the game to take safes from each other to make that concept fun. The bluffing also is not very exciting. Because your ability on the card still triggers even if someone catches you, there is no real sense of danger. Sure, yeah, you might lose a reputation point and they might get a point, but it doesn't feel satisfying. I feel like in a lot of these bluffing games, when you get caught, it should I don't know, give you a weaker version of that power. Something that makes you go, oh, when you pull it off, it feels really good because you got the stronger version. This is oh, I know I'm going to get the ability no matter what. They might catch me and get a point. It doesn't feel like a gotcha moment. It just feels oh, okay, whatever. I'm still going to do exactly what I wanted to do. And then the most damning thing is that this game is frankly, even with the longer version, not long enough or substantial enough to make any of these concepts feel really, fun. Yeah, you can recruit those Scoundrels with unique abilities, but you barely have enough opportunities to use them. And you have to buy them first anyway. So, you might buy one and maybe get to use, once or twice, if you're lucky. And maybe you might be able to set up a combo, but the game finishes before you can really dig your teeth into it. It just feels lackluster. So, honestly, I was pretty disappointed with this because we were really excited. It looks great. The theme and presentation. I love clear cards. I love the transparent, customization of random cards. But when it was done, we were just oh, okay. None of these concepts really worked. If even just one of them hit, I'd be okay, this is pretty fun, but it all fell pretty completely flat for us.